So after what seemed like a hellishly long wait, I finally got to see Late Night with the Devil, starring the one and only character actor Dave Dastmalchian as Jack, a late night talk show host who has his late night talk show called Night Owls, who is wanting to up the ratings for his show and rival Johnny Carson, so he goes all out and has a radical idea on Halloween night, this is based in the 70s, to interview the devil on his talk show, as well as a few other people including a medium and a skeptic. And then after that, all hell breaks loose and just shit hits the fan. Now, one thing I found out today about this film, it was actually Australian made in Melbourne, the state below me, and also features some wonderful Australian talent that are doing some crackerjack American accents in this film. So the way this film is structured, I guess you could say it is a found footage film, but we are essentially watching the raw tape of what transpired on Halloween night in 1977. Now we also do have a prologue and it sets up the character of Jack, played by Dave Dastmalchian, who I'm so glad he's front and center these days in films. I loved him in The Last Voyage of the Demeter. He's gone from like a background character actor to front and center, and I definitely want to see more of him. I feel like he's becoming like the horror king now. He loves it, he loves the genre, and he is fantastic in this as Jack, the late night talk show host, who wants to interview the devil, but would this be the first time he's actually meeting the devil? Now, first and foremost, my initial thoughts on the film. I fucking enjoyed every single minute of it. Was I spooked out? Was I scared beyond belief? No. But I found it extremely eerie, unsettling. But what I found a lot of enjoyment in was the production value and the performances. This takes place in 1977, and keep in mind, like I said, this was filmed in Melbourne, the state below me, featuring some homegrown Aussie talent. The attention to detail in this production is incredible. Just from the costumes, the set design of Jack's late night talk show, Night Owls, it looks incredible, it is very on point. Everything has just been taken into consideration and just made with love, I guess you could say. And then when we are watching the raw footage, we go to the regular aspect ratio that you would see back in 1977. And then when they cut and they're off air having a break, it goes back to widescreen, but this time in black and white, which I think is a very interesting choice. And I actually really dug that. When it comes to the color grading and what they've done to the picture of the raw footage that we see of the found tape, loved it. Very much reminded me of the flashback sequence from Halloween Kills, where it has that kind of fuzzy aesthetic to it from something that you'd see in the 1970s or the 1980s. When it comes to the gore and the violence, I wouldn't say it's very heavy and full on, but when it happens, and it can be quite brutal at times. But what I love, and I don't know if this was intentional, or it was just something that I just had noticed. I don't know if you guys noticed it. There were certain shots where a dummy was required of a certain character meeting their demise. And it just reminded me so much of like a Tom Savini dummy that you'd see from like Friday the 13th or something that he'd done in the 70s or 80s. Not sure if that was on purpose, but I loved it. It fitted the aesthetic of the world we're in 1977. In terms of a standout performance, I don't really have one. Everyone across the board played their part. The gentleman that played Carmichael the Skeptic, I was trying to pick him. I could like recognize his eyes, and I'm like, I know who you are. You're Bane from Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions. Everyone was great, man. I think if I had to pick a standout, it's probably going to have to be Ingrid Torelli, who plays Lily, who is indeed possessed by the devil. When it comes to the possession scene and trying to coax the devil out of Lily, or get the devil to kind of come over and put Lily to sleep, so Jack can indeed interview the devil, her performance is incredible. Like much on par with Linda Blair in The Exorcist. Just looks like they're having the time of their life. And I don't know if this was done on purpose, but I like there's like a little throwback to The Exorcist where she calls the devil Mr. Wriggles, much like how Reagan called the devil or Pazuzu Captain Howdy in the original Exorcist. This film is like a bit of a black comedy as well. There are times when something happens and a certain character is in distress and they're a guest on the show, and then they cut to a commercial break. We then see Gus, who's kind of like the Andy Schaefer-esque type character, go to the audience and he's like,
always remember, use Pepto-Bismol.
And then there's one sequence where there's a psychic medium on there and he kind of freaks out, and during the ad break, the producer comes up and says, do you want a bourbon? And he goes, no, I want some water. And he's like, water. All right, we'll try and find something in this place. I don't know, just little bits like that just made me giggle. When it comes to the scare factor, like I said, I wouldn't say I was overly terrified. It gave me this sense of dread an eeriness. I think there's something about a 1970s or even a 1980s setting that includes possession, spirits, the devil that just freaks me out. I think because technology was so simple back then, and we relied on only simple devices of technology to try and see if indeed the devil does exist and stuff like that. But the concept of trying to interview the devil on late night live television, I think is brilliant. I think at the climax of the film when the shit hits the fan and all hell breaks loose on the set, I obviously won't go into specifics, even though this film has been doing the rounds for quite some time. We got a little bit later here in Australia. Again, I wouldn't say I was freaked out, but after the shit hits the fan, we see a shot of static, like TV static, and then it cuts to technical difficulties or standby. In that static shot, you see a quick glimpse of, I guess you could say, the devil or just a face, and it just... I think Dr. Hibbert sums it up perfectly.
Well, you certainly gave that boy the heebie-jeebies.
So you guys, overall, the wait was definitely worth it to finally see Late Night with the Devil. This is by far my favorite horror film to come out of 2024 so far. I love the production design, the attention to detail, the fact that this was filmed here in Australia, which I didn't know until today, and researching it more, seeing how many homegrown Aussie actors are in it and doing an incredible job with their American accents, the performance, everything just felt natural. Dave Dastmalchian, front and center, love his work. He just did an incredible job as Jack, someone who is so desperate to get that fame and get those ratings. He will do anything and whatever it takes to get to the top. Hell, even I love the poster for this film. It's something I want to get, frame, and put up here. It's just the whole, as a package, this film just delivers on so many levels. Again, not overly scared, but at the same time, I just enjoyed every minute of it because of the concept, because of the actors, the actors' performances, the production design, the costumes, the different concepts in the film, where it goes towards the end of the film, the climax of the film, and the very end of the film, the very last shot of the film is extremely intriguing, and I thought was just genius, quite frankly. Like, we've had some crackerjack horror films as of late, and a friend of mine, Davey Deathray, who you definitely should check out, who has a wonderful YouTube channel, commented on my post earlier when I had my movie ticket for this film before I went in to see it. He goes, how good is it? We've got such an array of different horror films that have come out this year. There is just something for everyone, and I totally agree with him. But again, this is by far my most favorite horror film of 2024. I highly encourage you to go check it out. Glad I finally got to see it on the big screen, and I cannot wait to watch it again. And with that, I'm going to be giving Late Night with the Devil 5 worms out of 5. If you know that reference, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and that scene was fucked up, man. So guys, if you have seen Late Night with the Devil, drop a comment below. Was it everything you wanted to be? Those little bits that I mentioned, like in regards to like the Tom Savini as dummies and stuff like that, do you think that was an intentional thing? And what really stood out to you the most, and what was your favorite part of the film without giving anything away? Love you guts. And I'll catch you in the next one. Oh God, after that worm scene, that sign off just has a whole new meaning now.